One night, a high school senior went to a school dance. There were often dances at the school. She enjoyed going to them with her friends. When the dance was over, she walked to her car. She offered a ride to one of her friends, but her friend said her parents were going to pick her up. The girl waved goodbye to her friends and said, "See you Monday." She threw her jacket onto the back seat. She got into the front seat and started the car. She pulled out of the school parking lot and onto the road home. She looked in her rearview mirror. A large red truck was behind her. The red truck followed her out of the parking lot. But she didn't notice which direction it went. The girl drove down the highway toward her house. After a few minutes, she looked in her rearview mirror again. She saw the red truck behind her. Is that the same truck from the school parking lot? She wondered. I guess we're going in the same direction. She didn't feel worried. She started to think about other things, like the dance. She thought about her upcoming graduation. She wondered what university life would be like. The truck continued to follow her. She looked closely in her rearview mirror. She wanted to see who was driving, but she couldn't. She watched the truck while she drove. When she turned, the truck turned. When she slowed down, the truck slowed down. When she went faster, the truck did the same. Suddenly, the driver turned on the truck's high beams. The bright light from the truck's headlights filled her car. The lights blinded her for a moment. How rude, she thought. High beams make it difficult for others to see. Doesn't the driver know that? She wondered if the truck driver wanted to pass. She slowed down again, but the truck only did the same. Now she started to feel a little uneasy about the truck. She usually took a dirt road home because there wasn't much traffic on it. It also saved her a few minutes of driving time. She decided to take the dirt road instead of the highway. Surely the driver won't want to go that way, she thought. She turned onto the dirt road. So did the truck. She was surprised to see how closely the truck followed her. She considered stopping the car, but she didn't think that was a good idea because she was alone. The driver changed the truck's headlights to their low beam. She wondered about the driver. Was it a friend of hers? Was someone playing a prank on her? That was possible. But she didn't know anyone who played such mean jokes, and she didn't know anyone with a large red truck. The driver suddenly turned on the truck's high beams again. As before, she was blinded for a moment. Now the girl started to get scared. She went a little faster. The truck stayed right behind her. The driver turned the truck's headlights down again. I have to get away from this driver, she thought. She drove faster, but so did the truck driver. Then the driver turned on the high beams again. She had a difficult time keeping her eyes on the road. After a few seconds, as before, the driver turned them off. Then the driver turned them on and off again. By now she was so afraid she was almost crying. She drove even faster, but the truck stayed right behind her. The driver turned the high beams on again. Once more, her car was full of bright light. What do you want? She shouted through her tears. But no one could hear her. She was getting closer and closer to her house. The high beams came on again. This time, they stayed on. She turned her rearview mirror so the lights didn't hurt her eyes, but it was still difficult to drive. At last, she pulled into her driveway. She stopped the car and turned off the engine. The large red truck pulled in behind her. Its high beams were still on, lighting up the entire car. Her father opened the front door to see what was happening. The girl jumped out of the car and started to run to her house. "Call the police," she screamed at her father. "Someone is following me." From the driveway, she could see the large red truck. Suddenly the driver jumped out of the truck. "Yes. Call the police," shouted the man. "But it's not me you want." "It's him." The man pointed to the back seat of the girl's car. There was a man hiding on the floor. He had a wild, strange look on his face, and he was holding a large knife. The truck driver explained what happened. "I was in the parking lot. I saw someone enter the back seat of your car before you got in. I saw it happen, but I couldn't stop it. I wanted to get help, but I was afraid because I didn't want to leave you alone. Every time I saw the man rise up from the back seat, I saw the knife in his hand. That's why I turned on my high beams. He was afraid you would see him, so he hid again. Every time I saw him, I turned on my high beams."